Many Americans, by the way, mistakenly believe that the president of the United States is a man by the name of Joe Biden, right? I think most people probably think that, this guy here. But of course, that's not true. We all know that guy, the actual president of the United States, is a man by the name of Antony Blinken, which is this guy. This is the real president of the United States, regardless of the fake Secretary of State title that he holds. He's actually making America's foreign policy decisions, delivering those messages right to world leaders. Last week, flying to China, demanding that they stop supporting Russia, then to Ukraine to make sure that Zelensky knows, hey, more money is on its way. Don't you worry about a thing. We've got more money coming to you as part of our CIA-run war in Ukraine. And then there's, of course, his vice president is a man by the name of Alejandro Mayorkas. He's in charge of domestic U.S. policy. So see how this works? Blinken is in charge of the foreign policy. Mayorkas is in charge of domestic policy, working in lockstep, by the way, bringing 10,000 or tens of thousands of illegal immigrants into the United States, displaced Palestinians into the United States out of the Gaza Strip. This, of course, was always the plan, which you'll see in a moment. But both of these guys report to a man, their boss, by the name of Benjamin Netanyahu. But he doesn't live in America, where maybe you live. He lives in a place called Israel. That's why President Blinken has been racking up so many frequent flyer miles to flying to Israel over the past few months. He's going to his remote office on a regular basis, his WeWork location in Israel. Here he is. That's why last night, once again, Blinken arrived once again last night at his WeWork office in Israel to talk to his boss, Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, the last time Blinken stood before Netanyahu, he said, "I stand before you as a Jew." Those were his words. When Biden was set to pick Blinken as Secretary of State, of course, Israel was very happy about this. They loved this idea. In fact, the Jewish Journal said, quote, "Blinken, 58, has been one of Biden's closest policy advisors for over a decade and espouses the opposite of Trump's America First agenda."
So that means America last?
Yes. So we like him. This is why we stand behind Blinken, because he is really anti-America First, literally in the Jewish Journal, and echoed across.
So by that we can deduce he'll be putting us first?
No, he'll be putting
the Israeli readership.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, It's not America he's putting first. Don't think that for a second. So Blinken is anti-America First. Got it. We got that. That's why they love him so much. By the way, as Colonel McGregor points out, Americans are beginning to figure out that they have no real representation in Washington. The two parties are quickly becoming irrelevant. The truth is, we have one party, the Uniparty. So
yes, that's clear to me increasingly every day.
Yeah, and I think as we get through the end of today's segment, again, in this segment that I'm talking about here, they really want to pit one against each other, right? But I want you to, again, go 30,000 foot level. Why are they doing this? Why is this all happening right now? Hey, camel toe hunter, thanks for becoming a rebel. Welcome to the rebellion, camel toe hunter. Thank you for becoming a member of the Redacted Rebellion.
Hope you get that worked out.
Yeah, hope you get
comfortable.
Hopefully get your camel toe worked out. But thank you for subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate it, Camel Toe. So on the Blinken agenda, during this meeting, a few big points to further drive America into the ground. So you're meeting with Netanyahu. What are you going to be talking about? Clearly, first on the agenda is moving thousands of displaced Palestinians out of Gaza before they're killed in Rafah to settlements designated by the United States and Israel. This has been part of the plan for a while. Including free flights and free passage right into the United States. As CBS News has obtained the documents right from their friends at the CIA, they're sort of testing the waters. So the CIA gives CBS News their documents. Remember, they're very, very close, the CIA and CBS. In fact, perhaps maybe the closest news organization to the CIA. But here they are. Here's the documents. Here's what's going to happen. CBS, you go on the nightly news and you tell America what's about to happen.
White House is considering welcoming some Palestinians from Gaza into the United States as refugees. This is according to internal federal documents obtained by CBS News. The Palestinians under consideration would include individuals with immediate family who are either U.S. citizens or permanent residents. Last year, the U.S. moved 60,000 refugees from around the world, but only 56 of them were Palestinian.
So we're going to really amp that number up. Only 56 of them. We're about to kick this shit into overdrive. 88 miles an hour. You're going to see some serious shit. According to the report, one proposal would use the United States Refugee Admissions Program. You always have to find the programs, like where's the money, who's the facilitator, how can we use the NGOs to make all of this happen? So they're going to bring Palestinians into the United States as part of the Refugee Admissions Program with U.S. ties who may have escaped into Egypt. Of course, that's been coordinated as well. We've also covered here the massive open-air concentration camp on the Egyptian side that's being built on the Egyptian side of Rafah. So when they're forced out of Rafah, if they're not killed, they'll be forced over into Egypt, or they'll be taken by the United States directly into the United States. That's what's about to happen here, that you cannot stay in Gaza any longer. You can't go home. So those who pass the eligibility requirements then will fly into the United States with refugee status, receiving housing assistance. We've already been told from the Biden administration they will be given basically a stipend to live in the United States. They will be given rent. And they'll have a path towards citizenship. So this plan doesn't happen just overnight. Of course, this has been many years in the making. Democrats support this plan 100%. Here's the alarm bell pulling Jamal Bowman says, yes, bring them into the United States.
Should the United States bring in people from Gaza?
Well, we are a land of immigrants, and we are a land of asylum seekers. Anyone escaping persecution and oppression and violence, the United States has always been an open home to those people. So whether they're coming from Palestine, Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, Mexico, Haiti, they're coming here to contribute to our economy, which 99.9% of them are. We've always been a place to open our doors to immigrants coming here. So yeah, fully support that, and also fully support amnesty for the migrants who have been here for quite some time.
Yeah, so if you're here illegally, amnesty, and we're ready to bring you in from Palestine.
Okay, wait. A couple of things. Can we just put up a still that video
What still?
again? Just put that video again, but don't play it.
Okay.
Are you able to do that? It's okay.
Should the United
So first of all, he needs a bigger coat. That button's hanging on for dear life. Second of all, what he said about Palestinians coming here to contribute to their economy is a fundamental lack of understanding of what they want. They would like to live where they live, own that land as a nation state, and not be bombed. They're not like, oh, let me go and live in America and start a new life and contribute to their economy. No, they have a dream for a sovereign state of Palestine. So it's like that's stupid. That's a stupid thing to say.
Well, this is all part of the disruption plan, right? The United States goes in, disrupts those countries. He mentioned Guatemala. He mentioned Honduras. He mentions all of these areas that we knowingly funnel money and weapons into in order to destabilize those countries. We're actively funneling money and weapons into the very areas where we're driving people into the United States. These people don't want to be in the United States. They want to be in their home countries. But they are being driven out. So we always talk about the end of this, which is them coming across the border, but we don't talk about the destabilizing on the front end.
It's almost hilarious. These aspirational Palestinians who want to become a part of the American economy.
Right.
Their aspiration is for their homeland, for their own home, to live in safety.
Now, of course, Palestinians can't stay in their own homes in Gaza. We've already established that. Like, they've either been destroyed or you're not allowed to stay there any longer, of course. Overnight, Netanyahu announced that they will attack Rafah. That's the southern portion of Gaza, of course, where all the Palestinians are being held at this point. So they'll either be killed or they'll be resettled in the United States. Of course, the people there are starving, and aid trucks getting into this area with rice or other grains is nearly impossible. Israelis like to play a game where they attack these grain trucks like they did last night. It's so fun. They're laughing about it. They're laughing. These starving people can't eat. That fat guy doing the dumping looks like he hasn't skipped a meal in months. So it's okay for him. Let's just dump him on the street. You can't.
No, so bad he's got plumber crack.
Yeah, he's got that fat bastard. That fat bastard can throw people's food on the ground and then stomp on it and laugh and run away. And that's great. So Glad hopefully you can sleep at night. Meanwhile, many people are wondering why Jewish billionaire George Soros is funding some part of the protests. Why are they all using the same tents? When reporters ask some of them why they're there on college campuses, they don't know how to answer that question. Well, I don't know. I don't even know what's going on here. Okay. Why are you here? Stick a bunch of fake agitators inside of legitimate protests, and you have a perfect Soros concoction. He's been doing this for years. He has. Occupy Wall Street, sound familiar? And anyway, it's hard to tell the real ones from the fake ones. These occupations, of course, are being coordinated by the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights, the USCPR. Journalist Gabriela Cuccia explains.
USCPR, the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights. Who knew? And it's funded by everyone's favorite guy, George Soros. His organization actually pays what they call fellows who start protests on campus. You gotta love capitalism, am I right? They like the socialism thing. They don't want to get money's bad, America, the worst. But here we are, capitalism. This organization pays up to $7,800 to community-based fellows. And then for campus-based fellows, they get somewhere between $2,880 to $3,660, very specific. Who wouldn't want to sign up for that type of money in Joe Biden's economy?
Right. With inflation running amok right now, this is exactly the type of, I'm going to make $7,000 and all I have to do is go and pretend that I care about something and I'm not from that school. Sure, I'll go do it. Why not? We know that the protesters who seized Hamilton Hall at Columbia were outside agitators. In fact, not students at Columbia, we now know. Approximately 300 were arrested at Columbia University overnight, the majority of whom are not students there. Where'd they come from? Good question. So why would a Democrat Jewish billionaire pay agitators to stir up some shit on college campuses? Well, what's interesting is George Soros is a huge fan of Antony Blinken. In fact, George Soros loved Blinken's father so much that he even named one of his buildings after him. Even his own archive is named after Antony Blinken's father. So he loves the guy. So true story, by the way. If Soros is on Biden's side, on Mayorkas' side, and Blinken's side, and Blinken is in Israel as we speak, what is really going on here? What do they want us to think about what's happening in the United States? There's a bigger game of chess being played here. Think deeply about this and then ask why also are Israeli lobbying groups also funding counter-agitators? They didn't get much coverage of this, of course, but this is absolutely happening, which was well documented a few weeks ago by Gray Zone's Max Blumenthal. Yes, the same strategy as Soros, but on the other side. What's the purpose of funding both sides of this fight? I don't know. Three-dimensional chess. Max Blumenthal has a question, though. Will all of these mass protests prompt the DNC to hold the 2024 convention remotely, as Biden did with his entire 2020 campaign, walled off and a walled-off inauguration ceremony? Good question, right? It's a perfect cover. We can't have a DNC because of protests. So Biden is protected. We'll keep him in a cloister. You won't be able to ask him questions.
Right.
You won't get to see any of it. And it's an interesting point. I don't think that's the full picture and story of it. Who cares about a DNC at this point? But it's certainly food for thought, right? Meanwhile, turmoil continues to engulf college campuses. Natalie's going to talk more about it in a second. Coast to coast right now, from UCLA to Columbia to NYU. Late last night, police entered Columbia University's campus and removed pro-Palestinian demonstrators who had occupied the administration building roughly 20 hours before. Of course, again, as we pointed out, they were not Columbia students. So who are they? This happened under NYC Mayor Eric Adams, by the way. And he held a press conference about it, said he was really happy about it. He said, these outside agitators coming into our city, we won't stand for it. And he actually referenced Black Lives Matter movement, people coming in from outside and being involved in these things. George Soros funded as well. Seen here, Eric Adams is, by the way, just if you're unsure who Eric Adams is, he's the one on the left. The one on the right is his boss. So the NYPD last night then posted this after they successfully cleared out Hamilton Hall. They posted this on their social media to show their support of Israel.
No.
Yeah,
that was last night.
Yeah, this is NYPD's website or social media post. Because, of course, NYPD has to share that and put that up there with it. So as Netanyahu explained, if you're curious about how all this happens and why are all of these government officials so in bed with Israel, like what the hell is going on here? Netanyahu explained it all back in the 1980s, back when he really wasn't a popular star, back before he became Blinken's boss and Mayorkas's boss. This is how they control the United States. He explained it back in the 1980s. Listen.
זה לא מקשה אחת. יש את הסנאט, יש את הקונגרס, יש את הכוח היהודי שהוא עצום, יותר חזק משהיה אי פעם. יש דעת קהל, יש לנו כוחות כבירים בדעת הקהל שמתנגדים למדיניות הזאת.
Yeah, so we have very strong influence over the general support of the United States. We have Congress, we have the Senate. We basically are able to control the United States, he admitted. So after this, if you're wondering why, after all these protests, why are we seeing all of this now? Why are we seeing this agitation, this focus in the United States on college campuses right now? All of the media coverage is about it. So when all of the corporate media is covering this, but they're ignoring what's happening thousands of miles away in Gaza, something's probably going on. And sure enough, it is, because all of this resettlement plan is happening while this is happening. This joint port project is now unfolding, which will enable the United States and Israel to steal all of that oil and natural gas just sitting off the coast of Gaza. So here you are looking at the foundation being built of our new port that will steal all of that oil and natural gas. Of course, all along, as we pointed out, guys, this is all about oil. This is all about money. This is all about natural gas. It's all about stealing resources. It's all about building beachfront condos. Right there. Look at this beautiful brand new port being built. So Fiora Isabel writes, the journalist says, Israel and the United States have begun construction on a port located 20 miles off of the $500 billion Gaza marine oil and gas fields where tens of thousands have been killed. Sabrina Singh, a Pentagon spokeswoman, told media the cost is $320 million and includes the transportation of equipment and pier sections from the U.S. to Gaza's coast, as well as the construction and aid delivery operations. So yes, you American taxpayers are paying for a new port to be built right inside of Gaza. $320 million. Did you sign up for that? By the way, we now learned inside of that massive aid package to Ukraine and Israel last week that was passed by Congress, slipped in there, we now know, was a massive plan for resettlement in the United States. Millions of dollars to resettle Palestinians out of the Middle East into the United States. So yes,
and in true U.S. fashion, U.S. fashion, we're paying for this port. So our taxpayers are paying for this port, so we can bring aid into the people that we have displaced to build this port.
Right, and so but not even really bring aid to them. Right, really steal their oil, steal their natural gas. So yeah, we've already done there's not going to be much aid needed left because they won't be there anymore. They're going to be gone. As you can see, we've cleared the area. There used to be homes here. There used to be buildings here. Those are being cleared out. And of course, a new port is being built with the United States and Israel in lockstep. So yes, we're building this, and it will station 1,000 American soldiers to protect the theft of oil that we're about to embark on. Can you believe this? So Congressman Matt Gaetz sees right through this BS and questioned Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin about this new pier project and U.S. soldiers being used as cannon fodder around the world when we should be focused here in the United States.
Ms. Locken just said there'll be about 1,000 U.S. service members operating a pier system off of Gaza. How many of them will have guns, Mr. Secretary?
Well, typically all of the deployed service members carry guns, and they have the ability to protect themselves if challenged.
So if someone from land in Gaza shoots at our service members who are on the $320 million pier that we're building, you're telling me our service members can shoot back?
They have the right to return fire to protect themselves. Now,
well, do we think that's like? So now I want to move to the likelihood that you think someone from land in Gaza might shoot at our service members on this pier. Do you think that that's a likely scenario?
That's possible, yes.
This is a very telling moment, Mr. Secretary, because you've said something that's quite possible that could happen, right? Shots from Gaza on our service members, and then the response, our armed service members shooting live fire into Gaza. That is a possible outcome here so that we can become the Port Authority and run this pier. Right?
That's correct. I expect that we will always have the ability to protect ourselves.
Boots on the ground? President Biden told the country that we weren't going to have boots on the ground in Gaza.
And we won't.
Okay, but you guys parse the distinction between, like, when Americans think boots on the ground, they think Americans in harm's way or engaged actively in a conflict. You guys seem to be sort of saying that boots on a pier connected to the ground, connected to service members shooting into Gaza, doesn't count as boots on the ground?
It does not.
I think you're going to find the American people have a different perspective on that. And if we're going to have people shooting into Gaza, we probably should have a vote on that, pursuant to our war powers.
Oh, my God.
Okay, no.
So is this like the new... I see this new tactic of where we don't declare war. I mean, not that we declare war anyway, but we just move soldiers into an area. And then when people shoot at them, they're like, well, they shot at us first. So
exactly.
We had to return fire.
This is right. This is the plan.
But no,
and this
it makes it literally a game of floor is lava. Like, I'm not touching the actual ground.
Or when our kids are walking.
Floating on a pier.
Don't touch the crack.
Yeah.
Don't touch the crack.
If I can just somehow get on pogo sticks or something, doesn't count.
So 1,000 American soldiers there. And we're going to be shooting live fire. And he admits openly that this is the case. Brick suit, I like this tweet. Austin would straight up outfit all American troops with Crocs, deploy them in the middle of Gaza, and then claim we don't have boots on the ground, just Crocs. Austin is just flat out lying with semantics. Ron Paul, my political hero, is not having any of this. He says, former presidential candidate Ron Paul, says sending 1,000 U.S. troops to build a pier in Gaza turns them into sitting ducks. And of course, this is exactly what the Biden administration wants. The Biden administration has openly talked about how it's only a matter of time before American soldiers are killed. So what is all of this about? Of course, it's all about power. It's all about oil, and it's about stealing these resources. Paul says the real problem is that we're funding this war. We're funding it. He says, forget about just the boots on the ground for a second. We're sending all of our money to fund this genocide and this war over there. And we're not taking care of America at all. Watch.
You know, they're talking about boots on the ground, and that is important. But it is sort of unnecessary to think that is the big problem. How about our money landing over there, the stuff we buy, the weapons we buy, the financing of all the violence over there? That is where the real problem is. So, yes, we don't have the soldiers with their boots on the ground. We're going to put them on a pier to make sure that we don't look like we're vacillating and not knowing what we're doing.
Yeah. So let us know your thoughts on this in the comments below. But, you know, Antony Blinken still in Israel. We're going to see where this goes with these college protests and where this new movement towards putting U.S. boots and adding our assistance for oil and gas to get those resources out of Gaza right now. So how many of you honestly think that Gaza will be rebuilt and Palestinians will live there and they'll be able to use their own oil and their own natural gas? Like, how many of you think that that's going to happen? In the comments, let me know. I'd love to hear if you think that's going to be allowed.
That they will live in peace and have sovereignty?
Yeah, if that will happen. Yeah. I'd be curious about that.
It feels like such a pipe dream.
Be curious.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, you could ask that question from now backwards of 20 years. You know, 20 years pass, and the answer would still be the same from me. You know, it's
right.
No,
yeah, it seems so unlikely. 60 years, really, since since the establishment of Israel.
I'll be curious too, because the United States and Israel created Hamas, as they like to say. The United States and Israel combined, and you know, they didn't have weapons until the United States gave them weapons, and of course Israel created them. Will we continue to support them in this way? If it's the perfect, you know, we think about the agitators in the United States in these protests, and then you think about Hamas as being funded by the United States and Israel and weaponized by the United States and Israel. Like, what kind of a big three-dimensional chess game are they playing here? So the horrors that Hamas carried out on October 7th, capturing civilians, capturing Israeli hostages, going to the music ceremony and grabbing hostages and horrific killing of civilians, which did happen. But who funded them? Who gave them weapons? You know, so this big, think bigger about all of this. Like, what do they want to have the outcome be here? And why was there stand down orders given to Israeli soldiers on that day to sit back and wait to allow all of this to happen? Well, you're seeing the port being built. So start to think about where this money is flowing. And it's all about the money, resources, and oil right now that's coming that's going to be sitting on billions of dollars in resources. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. You know, YouTube thinks that you'll actually like this next video right here. It's personalized based on your own viewing habits. So if you watch the video, please leave a comment. Let us know what you think about it. And we will see you next time, everyone.